In conversation with Lieutenant General Arjun Ray, CEO and MD Indus Trust, on the topic of blockchain for lifelong learning, I would now like to invite Mr. Alex Kaplan. Mr. Alex Kaplan is the global lead for IBM Digital Credentials and IBM Talent Transformation Practice. Alex leads IBM's Learning Credentials blockchain initiative. This work includes projects with US Department of Commerce and Education and the White House on learning and employment records. Alex has worked closely with IBM teams and created personalized learning on cloud, Watson Classroom and Watson Tutor. Mr. Kaplan has collaborated with leading organizations in education, including Apple, Pearson, and Sesame Workshop. He speaks frequently on the topic of transformational potential of advanced technologies on learning and talent at the Harvard and Columbia graduate schools. Mr. Kaplan, to introduce General Ray to you, you have joined us in the session just now. General Ray is the CEO and MD of Indus Trust, and he is the visionary behind Indus Group of Schools and Institutions. Apart from the international baccalaureate schools, he's helped set up the Indus Community School, India's first equal opportunity school, Startup U for Life Entrepreneurship, and Eagle Robot Lab to develop AI technology to coexist with human teachers to indigenously developed collaborative learning model. I welcome you, General Ray and Mr. Kaplan.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
A very good evening from India to you, Alex. And you're very dear to my heart because the subject of blockchain is even closer to my heart. Right from the time I was sensitized to blockchain when I attended a seminar in Washington, DC, in the Washington University over there, till today, blockchain is one exponential technology which has not received due attention, at least in the education fraternity. I can vouch for that. When we talk of the upskilling revolution, and when we talk of the reskilling revolution, when we talk of reinventing ourselves, when we talk of discovering our potential over there, I feel this is one technology, or possibly the only technology, apart from the human technology, that can help us in this VUCA world of ours. Now, the stated purpose of blockchain, and we see evidence of that everywhere. You see them in the banking industry, in the healthcare industry, in certification, etc., insurance also. The stated purpose of blockchain is that it is an online ledger that facilitates the process of recording immutable transactions, thus eliminating duplication of effort. And in education, possibly not in schools at all, but in some universities of the world, blockchain has been used for verification of a student's personal records, certificates, and transcripts, and protection of intellectual property. I feel this is underutilization of blockchain technology, and it makes me very angry. The technology is there, but we are not exploiting that technology to its full. Blockchain technology must enable me as an individual to develop this lifelong learning competency for the 21st century. How to learn, how to unlearn, how to relearn, how to upskill myself, how to reskill myself, reinvent myself. I can do it with blockchain as an individual because we are personally responsible for our upskilling and reskilling. We can't be waiting for companies and organizations to come and reskill. I have to do it myself. And this is an excellent tool that I have, but nobody seems to be talking about it. I need to personalize my learning. I need to disrupt myself personally. I must know where I stand. And I must be able to design my own future. Rather than allow the future to come and play around with me and toy with me, I should design my own future using blockchain. I must measure my own impact of the challenging goals which I set for myself, personal goals, organizational goals, my own performance. Blockchain must help me to measure my impact. And we face another big challenge. Today, blockchain is unaffordable for at least school kids in Asia, Africa, I would say most countries of the world today. I understand that plus minus here and there, if you were to use it liberally in a manner you should be using, it's about $900 a year. And I'm talking about lifelong learning, continuous learning. So every year, minimum investment is $9,000, which when you translate that into Indian currency, only the very rich in our country can afford. So how do we make blockchain affordable? So these are the problems we are grappling with, that we need to extend the boundaries, the capabilities of blockchain to help me to take charge, take ownership of my lifelong learning calendar. And having read all about your great work that you are doing in blockchain at IBM over there, we are looking for answers. We're looking for answers to how blockchain can help. We have some ideas which I'll sort of, throw. I won't throw all my cards on the table right now, but we have some suggestions for you also during the discussion. I'll make some overtures for you. Over to you, Alex.
Well, thank you. That was a terrific introduction, and I appreciate getting your perspective on it. As you mentioned, myself and my team have been doing a lot of work on the application of blockchain for the transition to a skills-based economy and how it applies into the education space. And you're right to point out the fact that blockchain is a core enabling technology to bring skills-based and education opportunities to hundreds of millions of people. And the reason that it has that potential is because it has some really unique characteristics. And those characteristics are that it sets an environment where information can be shared, so that, regardless of what school that you go to, the skills that you earn at that school could be shared with others. It gives control of that information to the individual, so that I would get a get a wallet, which had my lifelong record of learning and skills in that wallet. And I can share that information with people who are interested in understanding the skills that I have. So that could be for applying for a higher degree, or it could be for applying for a job. And so the transformative nature of blockchain is that it provides a trust anchor for information about an individual and about the skills that they've earned over the course of their career. And it also provides transparency and provenance on those skills and those certifications. Now, another really important aspect of it is around digital identity. And so one of the keys to blockchain use and to why it's so impactful is that we also know that the person who's making that claim or receiving that information is definitively who that person is. And this allows us to do a lot more digitally than we were able to do before, because we've resolved the problem of, I know that Alex is Alex. I can confirm and verify that through the work that I've done over the course of my career, I have these skills. I can confirm and verify the academic degrees that I've earned and any kind of certifications that I've earned from my skills-based work over the course of my career. So it gives you a very rich portfolio. Now, the other exciting aspect of all of this is once I have all that information, I can really help people chart their career path. So as you mentioned, it's up to all of us to decide how we chart our career and to be very proactive about building the skills that we need. And so one of the things that's really exciting about this technology is that once I understand the skills that an individual has, we can work with them to understand what kind of careers they're interested in or excited in. In really any field. And we can use the skills-based information to help people understand if they want to become an accountant or an automobile mechanic or a veterinarian or a physician or a college professor or a teacher, what skills are required to be successful in those jobs. And, we can provide them guidance not only on the, how the skills they have today align with their aspirations, but equally we can provide them guidance on where they can go get those skills, which schools they could go to, which universities they could attend that could help them build those skills. So there's a lot of potential here. And on the cost side of it, which is always really important, I think we've made really good progress in making this much less expensive, because our objective here is to make it ubiquitously available to hundreds of millions and billions of people. And once you have the basic structures set up, operation of it is actually very inexpensive. So the hard work is up front in terms of defining the career pathways, defining the skills, connecting the institutions that'll be issuing the skills and the certifications, deploying the wallets. But once it's up and running, it's pretty reasonably priced to operate.
I think we are both on the same wavelength. The number one question which I want to answer about myself is, who the hell am I? I want blockchain to help me. I want to know who I am. Therefore, this discovery of my potential, self-actualization, all those great competencies which you require for the 21st century to be successful, to be happy. I want to be happy. I want to know who I am. Blockchain technology has to help me. Secondly, blockchain, I believe, can be effectively used by an organization. Like, for example, take a school as an example. We can put in the parameters. For example, Kaizen, continuous improvement, would be a parameter for a successful school over there. Design thinking, the outcomes of design thinking can be plugged into it. We can have a certain set of parameters so that we as organizational leaders know whether IBM is moving to the next stage, whether there is any exponential growth that is happening. Because schools today, sir, unlike IBMs of the world, where you are using exponential technologies, where technology is doubling every 12 to 24 months, where you are global, where you are non-linear, schools are flat, they are local, they are linear. And there is no exponential growth. At best, there is incremental growth, homeopathic growth, small, minor little doses here and there, which you see over there. So we are also looking at blockchain for organizational growth. Now, I have a model which I will place before you. I want you to kick it around and help us refine it, because we are committed to make full use of this blockchain technology to be a lifelong learner. And we want organizations to use blockchain for organizations to reach heights of excellence, to achieve the purpose which they have set out for themselves, to measure the impact, to measure the knowledge index, to measure their innovation index. We need to do it. And therefore, I will present to you, sir, a model on this view foil, which is coming up over there, and I request your comments on it. And if you could help us refine it. That's the black box. The blockchain is the black box. And since, can we have this, can you read all this stuff over there? I don't think you see the red over there at all.
No, I can see it fine.
You can see it?
Yep.
Okay, so here we have the blockchain. This is my blockchain, individual blockchain. It can be, I made it for an individual. It can be for an organization. So there's a lot of data coming in there. Data, if I start from the left side, I have set certain personal goals, challenging goals for myself. I'm interested in doing design thinking as part of a team. As a student, there are formative and summative assessments over there. There is a mantra or a model to calculate my knowledge index, my innovative competencies like risk-taking, how to cope with failure, empathy, collaboration, critical thinking, etc. Anti-fragility also. So there's a lot of data which is coming into this blockchain. This desirably should be credentialed. It need not be credentialed. So it's for my own benefit. Now, on the right-hand side of the slide, that's me. Now, on the left side, if you see on the white font over there, are the objectives of my personal blockchain. Lifelong learning, personalization of my learning, personalization of competencies, create personal disruption in me to give me a wake-up call, designing my future, and impact measurement. Whatever we do, impact measurement. Now, all this is captured in an e-portfolio. That e-portfolio is piggybacking the blockchain platform. It could be video, it could be text, it could be in any format. It could be voice. Then on the right-hand side, that's me in that green little symbol there, that's me, the student. So there is an algorithm which is extracting this from the e-portfolio on a continuous basis, which is predictive and which is also prescriptive. So in a way, the blockchain is my mentor. It's my AI mentor. It is giving me predictions about me that listen, at this rate, this is where you're going to end up. And it is prescriptive. It makes suggestions of what I could do, what possible things I could do. Now, this can be reframed for an organization. And that is what I expect a blockchain of the future, which I feel has already arrived, to be able to do. So big data, a combination of big data, artificial intelligence, and human intelligence. I think this is an ideal combination of human-machine integration, of human intelligence, artificial intelligence, which makes me a new person, innovation. Over to you, Alex.
I think this is a really helpful framework, and thank you for sharing this. And I think we're pretty well aligned here in terms of how we think about this. Would you mind putting the graphic back up again? I'd like to sort of comment on it. It'd be great to have the visual there. Thank you so much. So I think it's really important to think about all the different kinds of data that we have that are available about an individual. And if you look at different kinds of industries and how we're taking data about those individuals in order to help them understand it, in many ways we're talking about doing the same thing here, but the application of it really is to help that person understand what career pathways are in front of them, what skills they need in order to realize their potential and to realize their aspirations. One of the key challenges right now, and this is where blockchain is really helpful, is knowing which of that data is actually anchored in trust and is accurate. So we can harvest a lot of information about people, but where we struggle is we really struggle to anchor it in trust. And that's a key facet to it. Another really important piece of all of this for our little green man here on the side is to give control to that individual about what to do with that data. So rather than us making this decision sort of a higher level or an enterprise level, we want the person to be in control of that data and to make decisions about who they can share it with. So I guess I would sort of probably add a box here coming out of our little green man around who we're going to share it with, right? Because the whole idea here behind taking this data and applying it is to make it such that as an individual that I can share that with others and that they can see that in fact I really have these skills. The e-portfolio idea is spot on. That's exactly the right thing, and it could be everything like you mentioned, from video to writing to certifications, whatever it might be. But by developing and building a e-portfolio that's anchored in trust, we make it a lot more powerful for the receivers of it. And so I think that I think you're right in terms of the kind of objectives we can meet here. So once we've got this data, and this is a really important dimension with blockchain, because what we're seeing now is the integration of blockchain with artificial intelligence. And the reason that that's occurring is because blockchain data is highly reliable. And the thing about artificial intelligence is it does a better job with better quality data. There's a direct correlation. I mean, artificial intelligence at its heart is really a information triangulation engine, and it's a statistical engine that's drawing conclusions based upon the data that's provided. So the higher the quality of the data, the better the results would be. The other thing that I would add in here, sort of in the lower right corner, are career pathways. And this is a really important dimension to this, because it's not only the information about the individual that we're interested in, we're equally as interested in what skills you need to be successful in a career. And there's a lot of work going on around the world on this topic. And so, the algorithm can take the information that it has about that person from the blockchain, and it can compare that to career pathways, and it can provide guidance in terms of, given the skills that people have. You talk about being predictive and prescriptive. That's what the prediction and prescription is. Knowing the skills that you have, what can I do with those in order to be successful and to reach my aspirations? And then, the last thing that I would put on here are educational opportunities, because not only do we want that person to share information with potential employers, but we also want to be able to guide them to where they can build the skills that they need. And for most people in the world, you talk about education being flat, which I agree with. For most people in the world, that's something local. And what we see happening in education is a combination of building those skills at a local level, but also taking advantage from online educational opportunities where people can build skills. Good example of that is the IBM Skills Build program, which we've made available in India, that allows people to build skills in the technology industry. So again, I think this is a really useful framework for thinking about blockchain.
Then I was, can I this slide off, please? I was, before we take on some questions over here, Alex, I was thinking it may be a good idea for us. We would like to get into some sort of a partnership with IBM on developing this blockchain model, which I have suggested, being refined by you, as you have just spoken about here, for self-development, for lifelong learning, and for organizational improvement. And we would definitely like to do it. And we would elicit your sort of encouragement and support in this manner. We are definitely going to do it, even we have to muddle our way through it, because I'm convinced beyond doubt that this is a technology that has not received full attention, and its potential is huge. It is mind-blowing potential. If this model works, you will see the impact is going to be huge. It will be the same like big data. It is like big data, AI, and human intelligence all combining together. The partnership of all these great intelligences to help us innovate as individuals and help companies innovate themselves to sort of realign themselves for the future and skills. So I was thinking it may be a good idea for us in an early time frame to work into some sort of a relationship with your team, and we would like to definitely try it out, a pilot program as for individuals and a pilot program for a school over here to see how this technology can really upgrade itself. How we are looking at exponential growth. Blockchain should bring about times 10 improvement, a leap, times 10 improvement. I mean, it has to be a moonshot. I feel blockchain is a moonshot technology, but just using for text and for credentialing and a certification is no big deal. I mean, that's nothing. I mean, that's a very rudimentary, elementary thing there. So this huge leap we would like to take along with the IBM. And we certainly want to do it. And we want to get every kid in the schools here, including poor schools, like children who come from disadvantaged societies, they require this more than we people who are privileged. Because I think social justice and social equity has to be an objective of blockchain, social objective of blockchain. And this is the way we can get people out of poverty. But it is very unaffordable at the moment. Very, very unaffordable at the moment. That is the only thing which is coming into our way. Our parents are, I mean, I don't want to put it so crudely, but you have to be a billionaire to put your kid into a school here. And to spend $900 over and above spending, say, $30,000 a year, does not make good economic sense for an average parent. So we have to make it affordable, Alex.
Well, I mean, we certainly welcome a deeper discussion, and we're very focused on the social impact of these technologies to make sure that they give people an opportunity to build the skills they need to get good and family-sustaining jobs. We are very focused on affordability, which is, we agree with you. I mean, I think the good news here is that the vision that you have, and the concerns that you have are broadly shared around the globe. I mean, there are initiatives underway in the United States, Canada, Europe, Australia. The World Bank has an active initiative. And so many people see that potential just like you do. And I would say that they all share those objectives. So yeah, we would certainly appreciate the opportunity to have this deeper discussion.
Tanya, would you like anybody to ask any questions? Because we've got the world's #1 expert on blockchain here with us.
Sure, sir. Before I take somebody from the audience also looped in here, one question, rather a discussion that is being happening in the chat window, because sir brought out the question of affordability, and because it's a very new technology, visualizing the use cases also becomes a challenge. So, sir, when it comes to blockchain, to be able to create an ecosystem for lifelong learning from the perspective of social impact, creating a social impact and social equity, as General Ray brought out, will you help us elaborate on this further, on this particular concept?
Sure, yeah, I'd be happy to. I mean, blockchain is a maturing technology. I think that's the best way to think about it. In the early days of blockchain, and I'm sure many of you know that, the thing that really caught people's attention with blockchain early on was cryptocurrency, which it continues to do. And that's what really brought it sort of into the public's consciousness, is its application for cryptocurrency. But there are a lot of different use cases for blockchain that have been underway for many, many years in the area of finance, in the area of trade, insurance, and across all sorts of different industries, blockchain is being used. Now, one of the good news pieces about this particular moment is because we've been at this now for quite a number of years, we have a very good idea about what works and what doesn't work. And so some of the early lessons, have led to change in the strategy around the use of blockchain. But, we've been actively involved in thinking through the application of this technology into the academic space since 2018. And so I think we're in pretty good shape in terms of understanding the use cases and how it can be successful. And the use cases really focus on what we've been talking about so far, which is its application for lifelong learning, for supporting the transition to a skills-based economy, to providing people with information about their own skills and career pathways that they have in front of them, and also as a critical component on the employer side, as they think about looking at different people who are applying for jobs and having confidence in the skills that they have. So I think the use cases are pretty well understood. You had mentioned, just the credentialing. I mean, that's definitely low-hanging fruit, and I agree with you. That's, sort of a simple thing to do at this point, which is good news. But even that said, most schools have not moved towards digital credentials around the world. So just the idea of issuing an academic degree or a diploma or a certificate onto the blockchain and giving to that to an individual in a wallet, that alone is a big step forward here. So you have to think about this as a journey. I think we've got a pretty good idea, excuse me, about what the future looks like. And we start with that, and again, going back to affordability, it's going to be affordable. I mean, we are providing blockchain credentials in all sorts of different kinds of ways at very affordable prices at scale.
See, credentialing, I feel for, you know it better, that it is now well established by Google, by the New York City University, by Chinese university, that there is an inverse ratio between GPA scores and innovation. Those countries like India, Korea, Taiwan, Korea, Japan, China, that focus on getting 100 out of 100 are least innovative in the world today.
Mhm.
And therefore, there is a correlation between the two. And today, Google does not even want to see your transcripts, your GPAs when you apply. And if you, going by what Laszlo Bock has, I think Bock is this is the correct name, VP People's Operations in Google. He made a very clear statement that 14% of all our innovation teams in Google are school kids, school graduates. He said, we're not looking. In today's world, nobody cares a damn about your qualification, this paper. They want to know what have you done with those qualifications. So I say that I'm a PhD, I'm a hell of a big guy. No, sir, you are a hell of a big guy in the industrial age. Today, if you are a PhD in this, what have you done? What are you capable of? That is the question, that is the credentialing that has got to be done. Not that paper certificate. What are you capable of? That is the curriculum vitae of the 21st century. Therefore, credentialing these things, yeah, okay, I got nothing against it, but it does not sort of, show me good light or poor light. But for career opportunities, this and that, yes, it makes sense. But I don't think in today's new world, certificates, people are so crazy, at least in East Asian countries, about certificates. Even if they attend a 3-day workshop, they want a certificate to put it on their CV. Sir, it makes no difference. I'm not interested in how many certificates you got. I'm interested to know what have you done with those certificates and what are you capable of doing with those certificates. Therefore, credentialing itself, I would put a question mark as far as blockchain is concerned for at least my own improvement, my own satisfaction. I am my own credential.
I think I have a slightly more nuanced view on that question. So, IBM over the last 3 years has focused a lot on skills-based hiring. And we've done that for exactly the same kinds of reasons. We're keenly interested and concerned about what skills you bring that are going to make you successful in our jobs. And we have a pretty clear idea about what skills you need to have to be successful. I think there's a continuum here. To me, this is not an either or. This is a yes and. And so what we're trying to do is, because historically we've focused, too much on certifications and diplomas. And what was happening now is we're starting to move towards more of a balance. Certifications and diplomas always will have a place. They have a place in hiring that we do, and they'll always have a place because not only are they proof of attainment of skill, but they also are proof of grit and persistence and ability to be successful. And so we look at the fact that, it's demanding to get a degree, and that tells us something about that individual that they were able to do it. Now, that said, there are also a lot of people who have very deep skills in different areas, and we're equally as interested in them. So I think one of our experiences here, and one of the things that we're excited about this movement, is what we've really done is we've opened the aperture here in terms of the kind of people that we're interested in looking at and the skills that they have. We don't have any preconception about what their background is. I don't have a technical background. I have a degree in international relations, and I learned technology as I went through my career. And so it's really about the breadth of skills that people have. And we've got a pretty good understanding that you could be like, there have been some studies, work that's been done, which shows that kindergarten teachers are uniquely successful at becoming software developers. And we think that has to do with the fact that they work in a sort of very open, fluid, dynamic environment that requires a lot of creativity without a whole lot of structure. So we're very open-minded in terms of the background that people have. But I don't think a lot of kindergarten teachers understand that we would see them as a really viable candidate to become software programmers. And so we want to open people's eyes that regardless of their background, that they could be successful in careers with us.
Yeah, Tanya, any questions? Anybody would like to ask?
Yes, I have an audience member here to ask a question with Mr. Kaplan. Can I have?
Yes. Good morning, Mr. Alex. Shri here, and I'm a faculty at the Indus Training and Research Institute. Your discussion on this topic with Gen Arjun Ray sir was fantastic. I think it gives us a good, overview on how much blockchain as a technology has evolved, and how much more we can partner together with this technology. I just have a question for you. Exponential technologies like blockchain has the potential to build self-directed lifelong learning, isn't it? And so in this, looking at this perspective, what must we teacher learners, learn from this? And would you give an advice on how we should re-roll to stay relevant?
Yeah, no, thank you for the question. I think the important thing to think about with this blockchain is you have to get really clear about, as a professor or as an education institution, what skills are people building while they go through your coursework, and how are those? So, sort of think about it around competency outcomes and how do those align to careers. And so I think one of the struggles for education institutions as they make that transition is getting that kind of clarity. I don't think it's so important they necessarily understand blockchain exactly because it's an enabling technology. I think what's more important is that they understand what kind of data and information is going to be required in order to enable these technologies to be successful. And that really comes back to, as I go through a class, what am I learning? What competencies am I learning? And there's also this concept of micro-credentials, credentials and micro-credentials. And the idea is that as somebody moves through a class, if they master a particular skill, issue them a credential for it. So when you start to think about education in sort of a reductive fashion, I think that helps get you into the right kind of mindset around all of it. And it's a very different model, by the way, from the classic education model that's out there today. And so I think to get reskilled about it, you need to think about, by the way, not only blockchain, but how this data is used for artificial intelligence engines, and about the fact that as people move through their career, in many ways they're going to be assembling their own information, their own education from different places to get at the career objectives that they have.
Tanya?
Yeah. Tanya?
Anything else?
Thank you, Mr. Kaplan. Thank you, General Ray. And thank you, Mr. Pete. He has been active in our chat window, and he's also shared a few resources for our audience to read. So thank you, Mr. Pete, as well. Thank you again, Mr. Kaplan, Lieutenant General Arjun Ray, for joining us today for this amazing panel discussion.
Yeah, it was my pleasure. We really appreciate the invitation, and we'll look forward to continuing the conversation with all of you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Alex. Great pleasure.
Okay. Have a good evening.
Bye-bye.
With this, we have come to the close of day one of the Indus International Ideation Colloquium. We would like to thank all our esteemed panelists and our attendees who joined us today in the ideation exercise. We welcome post-session feedback, comments, and questions. Feel free to write to us at itsupport@itari.in. The email ID will also be posted in the chat window. The colloquium moderators will consolidate and share your questions with the speakers. We will meet again tomorrow for the day 2 of the colloquium, where we have yet another illustrious panel of speakers lined up for you. We begin sharp at 5:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time. Please do register and join us tomorrow if you haven't already done so. Thank you once again, and good night from India.